Hello and welcome to Your Casual Foodie.com. I am here with my dad, actually asking him a few questions about his personal experience cooking and as well as homemade meals. So, how are you doing so far?
I'm doing good.
Okay, so first of all, where are you from?
I'm originally from Fremont, Texas, but I live in McAllen,
Okay.
Texas.
With that being said, so do you cook?
No,
Oh,
not as
okay.
much as I don't cook that much, but I do cook every now and then.
Okay, so is is there like a favorite recipe that you like cooking that's your favorite? Is it like based off of like your hometown or is it based off of like from where you live currently?
No, I guess when I was growing up, my mom used to make just tacos, but she would make ground beef tacos, and there's a certain way she would make them that doesn't really quite taste like anybody else's. So I kind of use her recipe, which is kind of simple, but it has a certain taste that I
Oh, okay.
really like. And they're just ground beef tacos with lettuce and tomato and picante sauce. Picante sauce is really the key to the taste.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of my favorite things to make.
Now, does this recipe remind you of home or is there a different recipe that reminds you of home?
It does remind me of home because I think we used to eat a lot of tacos and it was simple to make and simple to reheat if my mom wasn't around. And at that time, my parents got a microwave, and that was very unique at the time. So you were able to put food in there and zap it, and rather having to put things in a skillet. So as a kid, if they weren't around, it was easy to make. And ground beef, you can kind of put in a container, freeze it, put it in the refrigerator, and it would last a little bit longer. And then lettuce and tomato, and then picante sauce, and you were ready to go.
Okay. So what's like the story behind it of why what's it called? Your mom decided to make ground beef tacos or what
Well,
was like your first experience?
well, tacos are just part of growing up. If you're in South Texas, most people consider it something maybe because of being Hispanic and from this area, but it really is a simple food to make. It's very cost effective, and for me, my mom had well, we had a big family, so she would always make things in to where you could make a lot of things together and put ground beef and put it in a skillet and just make a lot of corn tortillas, and it was real easy to make as far as feeding a family. I think that's the reason, but for me it was very practical. I didn't really start trying to make them myself till after I was really out of college. I because it was something that I would go home and want to get because she would make them. But I'm not a big fan of cooking. My brother is actually a restaurateur. He has his own restaurant. He likes to cook. I'm the opposite. I like to go out and eat and get served. But as I gotten older and not living with mom or being around mom, I kind of took a crack at making my own tacos. And so I branched out. I started making chicken tacos from leftover chicken, and sometimes I would make my own ground beef tacos. And there was another seasoning that my mom would use called McCormick. They make different ground beef seasoning, and that really is the secret to me. Adding that with the lettuce, tomato, and the picante sauce, it's very um, tasty. And I started doing the tortillas with um, not vegetable oil, but olive oil, and that has a really nice taste to it. And so, but cooking is something I'm not a big fan of. Eating is, but I do like to make ground beef tacos um, because I know they're going to come out good. And I kind of follow my mom's recipe. And like I said, I started late as far as trying to cook for myself, but I've always been a fan of going out to a restaurant and being served and having the presentation of a restaurant, whether it's fast food or whether it's fine dining. The whole art of food in that presentation is very nice. I think sometimes when I cook, I get exhausted, and by the time I start eating, I don't enjoy it as much. So it's nice to go somewhere and get served. That's always been my philosophy towards food. Plus, you can use it as a write off if you go to a restaurant. So, uh, other than food for your house is nice, but it's harder to write off as a business expense.
Hmm. Now, what's it called? going into the fact that you haven't really like cooked as much when you were a kid, is there one recipe that you really want to try but you haven't tried yet?
Making tortillas from masa. I think we were talking about this, that you have
Hmm.
mastered the craft, but I have not been able to be good at that. There's another thing that my brother does very well with his pan de campo. They call it like cowboy bread. They would make it over um a pot, like over a fire, and that has a certain taste that I would like to, being a guy and being a little bit more the machismo thing, you baking barbecues and cooking outside and making cowboy bread or pan de campo. Those are things I've never really, that I would like to try to do, you know, better. And if not, because actually I love the taste of it, but it is an art form. It's not, the size of the bread and the taste, and you have to have the measurements right. And when you're cooking with fire, it's different than an oven. You can control temperatures. The fire, you got to know the wood, you got to know the pots, you got to know, even the air, the time of day. There's a lot of things that goes into when you're cooking a cowboy style, just out there in the monte or the ranch and stuff. Monte means ranch, people. I'm sorry. but anyway, those are things that I would like to do. I think pan de campo and making corn tortillas or masa tortillas, flour tortillas. Um, my dad does beef jerky, kind of like he likes to take meat and put it in a dehydrator, which is kind of simple once you put the seasoning. But I like beef jerky. Beef jerky is always something that we had when I was a kid. That you can put in your pocket. When I was a kid, we used to have some in when it was cold. I would put it in my jacket, and you can always just kind of bite it, especially you went hunting or you were out at the ranch. It was a quick snack. And my dad does a lot of that with a dehydrator. My grandfather used to do jerky, but he would hang it on the clothesline of all things. But it would be deer meat, and it was more of a sweeter taste than beef. But I noticed a lot of the men from where I'm from originally had their own recipes of making beef jerky. And another thing that was very big when I was growing up, especially around 4th of July, they would have the cook-off contest and around the high school. And making beans from where I'm from is also kind of an art form. Um, it's more like just ranchero beans, but there's certain spiciness to it. Those are all things that I enjoy very much, but I'm not particularly um, fond of making it. I like the eating part of it, but I do know and respect that a lot of people do it very well. I just not cut that way. I enjoy eating it more than making it. And but my brother's the opposite. He really knows a lot about the art form of what goes into it. So I admire seeing that, but I also respect that I don't do that well, or I just don't have the knack for that. But those are things that I wish I could do. I probably won't be very good at it at first, but those three things are the beans, um, the corn tortillas, and the pan de campo, the cowboy bread. And those are the things I think I would like to make.
Well, thank you for this interview. Once again, you are watching the Your Casual Foodie here on YouTube. So like and subscribe.